Hey guys, what's going on? It's Tommy. I'm here to tell you guys how to play American Katrina, the best Katrina list on the market. Yeah. Uh, if you actually want to learn how to play this deck, I recommend speaking with these guys. Uh, they're a lot better than me, and uh, they may or may not have also like kind of made the deck and or have any variants. Yeah. All right. First things first. Let's talk about the deck list. This is kind of a shell of a pretty standard like French Katrina deck list. If you don't know what that is, it's basically just going into discard Katrina, calling Lilgas and other control pieces from your deck like Honolly um, to basically live your opponent's really strong turns while also putting up a good amount of offense and maintaining a large hand and generally being a very consistent game plan. Now, one big difference that you'll see in this list than the regular French Katrina list is that there's no Giyasha. This is because I have very often felt not very good going into the stride up, and I feel like it has left me with not a lot of cards in hand, that I'm very susceptible to just dying the next turn, and that oftentimes don't really need the extra force marker, or extra two if you rewrite into a peony. But generally, I just felt really good going second, and I said, you know what, I just want to go second all the time. Many decks, if not almost all the decks in this format, tend to just blind go first when they win the die roll, you know? So you won't even have that hard of a time going second in the first place. Very, very few decks will be blind seconding, and you can take a really good advantage of that. Now, let's just talk about some beginning parts of the deck for beginners. This is your main stride, Katrina. When it's placed on Vanguard Circle, you turn a card face up, usually Cyclone to this card right here, to make plan tokens equal to the amount of face-up cards in your G-Zone, and then your Vanguard gets the ability to give all your plan tokens plus 10. This is a really good offensive card and a really good defensive card, because when it attacks, you search your deck for any amount of cards equal to the number of plan tokens, and you just call them. So you can call these really great defensive token cards like Honolly, which is really good against multi-attacks. It makes them pay CB for whenever rearguard attacks a Vanguard after the 5th battle armor. And you have Loga. This is the bread and butter card of the deck when combined with Katrina. When it's placed on rear, or when your other Loga is placed on rear, CB1, add all your other Logas and itself back to your hand. Me when I add 3 PGs to my hand for free. That's pretty good. So that's generally, just a very basic thing that you do with it. And the inclusion of the Honolys and the Logos is kind of like the basis for the French list. You also have the Almira, which combos with the other thing, and that's all the basic French stuff. But the basic thing that you need to know to have any type of success is Katrina, call Lilga. Good job. Now to go a little bit more in depth, we could just talk about some of these cards. In Largolv, when it's placed on rear or guard circle, you reveal a grade 4, or if your Vanguard is grade 4, basically, when you put it on rear and you are being, or you're striding, you get to Soul Blast 1, choose a grade 2 graded card with a different card from this unit in your drop and put it into hand. Hey, that's a grade 2 graded card. 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 Okay, basically, you can just add like anything from your draw back to your hand for 1 soul. It's like pretty good. Generally, you're using this to add your blue Asha Ride target back to your hand. You can use it to add Bracing Angel Ladder back to your hand. You can use it to add your Heal Guards back to your hand. It's just amazing. I cannot understate how good this card is and how important it is to a lot of the combos that you want to do. Now, next is Stampede. This is going to be your main ride when you're going second, and first as well if you are going first for any reason. When you put it on Vanguard Circle, it's going to make 2 plant tokens. When you put it in rear, it's going to make 1. And then when it swings, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Don't worry. Because you won't go first. Just pray you won't go first. Um, and that's really good. And you make a forest marker. That's really good. You just want to make your plants, get your forest marker in stride. Um, then we have Blue Asha. This card is really good. At the beginning of your right phase, basically you just take 1 card in your rear and 1 card in your drop zone. You put them in the bottom deck in any order, and then you draw a card, and then you can call if you want. That's supposed to like combo with the stride skill. There are some like weird niche things you can do with it, but the main point is that it combos extremely well with Megaloma. Other things that you can do if you ride early, not doing your Megaloma shenanigans. It says any card, or so that just means call your OT, card with your OT, put it back on bottom of the deck. Profits. It's pretty good. And it also pairs up really well into Link Joker because it doesn't mention rears, it mentions cards on circles. Anyone that plays Bermuda going into Heltruda would know that includes lock cards. You can put those lock cards on your rears back into the bottom of your deck, meaning that you're able to clear those lock cards that they spent 3 quadrillion resources to lock because you're playing plant tokens and they have to clear the plant tokens in order to get the card locked onto there in the first place. This card just makes that already in your favor a chaos matchup just even more unlosable. But that doesn't matter because you're never going to play into chaos because that deck is bad. Now, the next card, we got Enelma. When Enelma is placed on van or rear, you can less 1, so less 1, draw a card, and make a plant token. In this deck, you like drawing cards and making plant tokens. That's a pretty good card. Don't worry about the other effect. It's not going to come up, and if it does, don't worry about it. It says the effect on the card. You can read it. I'm not going to say it. Next up, we got Tulip Muscatilla Armilla. Carabuss 1, you put the top card of your deck into your damage zone, and at the beginning of the end phase, you choose a card from your damage zone and return to your deck. This is literally just so that way you can force the activation of the Megaloma during your opponent's turn, with a combo involving Rainbreath Dragon and a heal, with the combo being you Rainbreath Dragon and call Almira when you're at 5 damage. It's not really a combo, it's more just like, yeah, you're doing it. The reason why that's good is because you do it when your opponent swings for Vanguard, Rainbreath Dragon, go, Almira, take the damage, go to 6. You take the damage, you go to 6, and then it stops their turn before they do the drive checks. And it also is really good because if you're thinking, oh, I mean, it's just a few drive checks, it's not going to change too much. I'll probably be able to kill next turn anyway. What it really does save you is like a random crit, which if you don't know, when you Megaloma, if you go to 7, or like if you take the 6 damage, it'll go, put it all back to deck, go back to 6, and then you'll take a 7th damage, and then you'll die. So Almira helps you avoid that, and it also helps you avoid having your opponent get an extra 3 cards in hand. It's a pretty nice tool in general. This Empix. Empix is the most broken card in Cardfight Vanguard. It says if your opponent is playing Shiranui Premium, you win the game. Alright, next card. Rosarian Fair. Okay, so let's explain this Empix thing. Basically, the way that Empix works is that you can't things in the same column as Empix, including itself, can't be chosen by your opponent's card effects if you have 3 or less rears. Now, what you want to do is you just call Empix. You can swing your plant tokens. You flyer carpet, retire those plant tokens that you swung with, and then you have a board that's just Empix, or maybe Empix with a plant token that's swung in front of it. And then when your opponent uses the Shiranui effect to call from grave, you just call it over that plant token that is in front of Empix, or in the empty rear circle that's in front of Empix. And they can't dominate those. Yeah. That's pretty cool. And then you have Bracing Angel Ladder as well that you can just search out. So, Renee is not working either. And you can go second. And because you're blinding second, you're going to have those two shields that, also blank Renee. And it's just a real good time for the Shirui player. It's a really fun time. Because the only thing they can do is try and kill you with the world's worst Sukumoricon. Yeah. It's pretty killer. The next card you have is Resilient Fury. Resilient Fury is a really nice card because it just says on place, retire, rear, usually a plant token. Make 2 more plant tokens. That's pretty good. It's just a way to make 2 plant tokens when you swing Katrina for the price of only calling 1 rear guard. So you have more options left. Now you have your Hanalys. It's a great card against these really high multi-attacking decks. Victor, Murakumo, Narukami, Grand Blue. It really helps lower their ceiling and helps you survive those really scary turns, because while you have a ton of like very tall guard with like the infinite searchable PGs, that doesn't really do too much against 2,879 attack Excel Clan decks and Grand Blue. Hanali really helps that because it restricts what they can do, and they have to play a lot around it. And if you don't give them too much damage, then they can't really make such a great turn work. We talked about Loga, Flower Carpet. This is the best card in Card Fight Vanguard. When you place it on your Vanguard circle or your rear guard circle, you may call a plant token to rear. It's peak. It calls a plant token. Great one makes a plant token that's really solid. It's a good ride target. In the drop zone, at the end of your turn, you retire 2 plant tokens. You can add it back to your hand. Recurring shield value. During the grade 2 game, if someone swings at it in the front row, you retire 2 plant tokens in a turn, you get it back. Or that won't happen during the end of their turn, but it happens another turn after. But the point is, it's just a recurring resource in a deck that likes to recur its resources. And it's just solid. You love having plant token makers. Retiring 2 plant tokens is so versatile in these like weird control matchups. Against Shiranui, it clears your board so you don't have stuff that can be dominated when you want to call your M-Picks. Against Chaos, you do this thing where you want to put plant tokens in your front row and then leave your back row empty. And a Flower Carpet allows you to have like those really good, 2 plant token columns, and then you Flower Carpet, retire those back rows at the end, add it back to your hand, and now you're all set, you're Gucci. But even then, it's not like the worst thing in the world to even have like that, just that 1 back row open. It's very versatile. I really love this card. It's such a great card. It's like really good. There we go. We have another Hanali. This is just my list. That's why I have one that's not updated. It doesn't have the errata. This is a starter. This is only a good starter. You have to run this starter. Don't run any other starter. This is only a good starter. Milas. I love drawing cards. The heal. I'm not really running resource heals in this list because you don't really need too much soul. You never really use more than like 3 or 4 a game. And then countercharging, you have the best countercharger in the game, my woman Robertina. Hell yeah. So that's fine. You don't really need to run a resource heal. Maybe 1 might be fine, but it's really not necessary at all. You have the strike crit. You have 3 draws. This is a control deck. We're not running the PG draws, so the next best thing is just these draw triggers from standard that have 10k shield. It's not bad. So we're running Bus Favor in favor of the red or blue OT because generally this card says heal and draw 2 and put a crit on something. It gives something 100 million and a front. Yeah. It's really good because it heals. It just heals and it gives you like a gajillion resources. It's everything that you would ever want. There's like maybe an argument for running like blue OT because blue OT can, I don't know, add you back a PG, and that's like better than drawing two, but whatever, it doesn't matter. You have a million PGs anyway. Who cares? Basic Ninja Ladder, really important. You can search this out by calling it with Katrina, and calling it will make it just go to drop, and then you can enlargle so last one add it back during that same Katrina effect. This is really good because you can call Hanali's next turn while you're under the Angel Ladder to make sure people can't remove them, and then next turn you can remove the Hanali's, and and then you're basically just getting 2 turns of Hanali's for the Hanali that you called, and it's just really, really slowing your opponent down, making the game a slog. Your deck thinning, deck winning, and it's just what you love to see. This card is really, really good. It's it helps protect your your 6 attack combo against the decks that have like the Now Griffin plays. Um, I would say it's mandatory. Unfortunately, you have to pay the $80 tax, but it is what it is. It is what it is. This deck's already super expensive. This Katrina card's really expensive. Hopefully the deck set that's coming out, I think in a few weeks, will make it a little bit more affordable because it's a really fun deck. I hope people can play it. You have Elementaria. This Elementaria card is searchable through one of our G units, and it's really important that you play it because Dimension Police is a deck that says if you have this card, you win, and if you don't have this card, you lose. And so it's nice to not die to that for some reason. A lot of decks are, it's not really like a lot of decks, but some decks do run Grey Wind or Greater Guard Restricts in their G zone, and so it is nice to have this card to prevent just dying to it for no reason. And because it is an order, it means that it doesn't fall into like the battle door or triple door guard restricts that we see in a lot of really high end bosses like Bartholomew, Granblue. You just plop it down. Don't need to discard anything. You keep your hand size. It's a great card. And then we have Horticulture Elf. I don't know why that's at the bottom, but this card is a banger. Maybe I would say maybe even one of the most pushed of the hand fixers that we got for these decks. CB1, call plant token when it attacks while boosted, and the plant token gets +5 is a really, really good effect that lets you do 6 attacks for very little cost. And of course, it has that hand fixing element. It's another decent grade 2 to run. It helps your ratios, and I don't know. It's just like imagine being Link Joker and having a really bad one. Couldn't be us because this card is really good. In your G zone. You got Harmonics. I love Guardian Shields. I love Guardian Shields. I love having 20k extra shield. Let's do it. Let's do it. You know, it's like maybe you can cut it. Run like another broken G unit just because this client just has all of them. It has so many good G units. You don't need it to live, right? You already auto win against Chaos. So you don't need to unlock, and you already have so much shield just from switchability. Maybe you don't even need to run it, but it's probably trolls. So run it if you have it. Robertina, I didn't talk about this card yet, even though I really should have when I was talking about the heals and why you should run a resource. But basically, this is how you recur your PGs and countercharge and not get die all at the same time. Because this card is banana bonkers. You just put 2 cards with the same name from your drop back into the bottom of your deck, and you gain 3 Kajillion shield and countercharge. It's simple. It's really good. I would say run it at 3, but there is another card in the G zone right here called Rainbow Cycle Dragon, where you just put 2 normal units with the same card name from your drop zone, put them behind your deck, and you don't get any extra shield, you don't countercharge, but it flips itself back down. So you never run out of ways to put those cards back on the bottom of your deck. Meaning you only really need to run 2, because now you only need to use it when you either really need that shield or when you really need that countercharge. And it's just a good way to conserve your G guard uses. And I know we already talked about the G guard, so let's talk about Rain Breath Dragon. This is another crazy bonker G guard. When you put it on the Guardian Circle, you can take one card from your hand, call it to rear, it gets resist, and you get an extra 5k shield until the end of the battle. I love calling Honolly during the middle of the battle phase. That's really nice. That's the main use for it. Again, the other main use for it is Almira. It's nice to have two, just so that way, you can call emergency Honolly. Let's say you damaged 3 Honolys and you drew the last one. Oh no, what are you going to do? They can just remove it, and I don't really want to waste that board space that I could be using to have a plant token called Katrina. Oh, well, it's fine. Just Rain Breath it onto the board during their turn. They might not even realize that you can do that, and it can mess up their entire combo. Now, they can probably play around it if they know, but if they don't know you have a Honolly in hand, then they might not do it anyways. It's a good surprise factor, um, and it's mainly just a really decent card. A lot of decks also, let's say you're playing against the dreaded Eugene Premium matchup, you you you, you call Rain Breath Dragon and you automatically win. That happened to me once and I didn't like it, but yeah. Let's talk about the actual strides now. So this is your main stride: Green Katrina, Lowe's Katrina, Blue Katrina. I love Katrina. Uh, yeah, you call anything in your deck. You just call 5 cards from your deck. Just call 5 cards from your deck. So in Grand Blue, there's a stride called Big Obadiah. This is like Big Obadiah, but if Big Obadiah was a really pretty woman. Yeah. Okay. So now the next stride is the stride that you flip off the Katrina. It's cycloned. It just says when it's face up, give your planet tokens 5k. And it stacks, so when you have 2, your planet tokens get 10k. And now, when you have a column of planet tokens on board while you have Katrina on your Vanguard circle, they're getting plus 15 in total each. So that means each planet token is 20, meaning that the column is 40. And now if you put it on a force marker, now it's 50. I love swinging cardboard. I love swinging cardboard. Feels really nice. You just have really nice numbers for free. Yes, that's why you run Cyclone. You could run a third one if you wanted to. You can run like 3 Cyclones for your third Katrina, but it's really not necessary. You're really not trying to super hyper aggro them out. If you're getting to a third Katrina, they're not going to be able to guard that third Katrina, most likely. The next card right here is Ladislava. Ladislava is a deceptively strong card. Now, it doesn't say call 5 from deck like Katrina does, but it searches cards without the need for calling, or specifically from calling from deck, not from calling from hand. This is such an essential card in so many matchups where you just want to search like 1 or 2 certain cards. That card usually being either Bracing Angel Ladder or Elementaria. Let's say you're playing against Mega Colony or DP and you want to search a PG. Well, you can't go into Katrina to get your logos. One of your options is to go into Ladislava, and you can go put a grade 1 on the board, discard a card, and then just add Elementaria. And that's what you can do against Dimensional Police as well. You can just have a grade 1 on board, discard a card, add Elementaria, and against Dimensional Police you can also call a grade 1 from your deck. And you have a lot of good grade 1s. Wow, maybe you can even call a Loga while you have a Loga on board. And now, that the Loga's going to proc, you counterblast 1, add them both back to your hand. Now you just added 2 PGs. It's a really, really decent card. Now, you're not going to go into it most of the time, but there are lots and lots of cases against specific decks where it really does shine, and I really implore you to use it. And, it has a decent on-swing effect. You restand the column, and it's really not the worst thing in the world. Or not a column. Or you can do a column, or you can do like 2 of the same rear in your front row. So it can be like 5 attacks. It's like a weird Mordred thing. but it's a really good card. I like it. I like it a lot. Um, Now we have Inverno. You do not need to run two, but it's a way safer to run two if you have it, and I would really recommend it. This card is cracked. It says don't deck out and add 18 quadrillion PGs to your hand. This deck is just adding PGs to your hand. That's all you ever do. But it just does it really well. It counter charges. It goes neutral on Soul, and it essentially goes neutral on counter charge as well. But you get the counter charge before you counterblast, meaning that you can do this on 0 CB. The only issue is the main reason why you would want to counterblast to do this is adding. It's the call logos and then add in, meaning you're gonna need a second counterblast for it. But you can do this on 1 CB and still add them back, and that it is really helpful. This card is just so last one, take 5 normal units from your rear, up to, but you usually want to do all 5 so you can get that counter charge. Put it back in your deck, and then counter charge soul charge. And then when you place a unit on your rear, you can counterblast one and discard a card from your hand. You choose one of your units with bloom. That's going to be either your logo, which is pretty much the only thing you ever want to target. And in the old list, you could also target the Asha, but you don't want to target the old Asha because there's no real point in doing it. But what it does is it then allows you to call 2 cards with the same name as that unit. Call 2 more logos. Counterblast 1, add those logos back. It's like a cycle that never ends. You will logo 6 to 10 times a game, and it's beautiful. And it's just beautiful. And now we have to go on to the last stride, Megaloma. This is a progenitor dragon, meaning that while it's face up in the G zone, you don't need to pay for the cost of stride. That is a really nice ability, and it's only going to matter for when you go into the second Megaloma in your last Katrina of the game. Now, what does it do on its own? When you place it on the Vanguard Circle, you discard 2 cards from your hand, and the next time that you would die during the next turn, you would return all of the cards in your hand and your damage zone to the deck, shuffle it, put 5 cards from the top of your deck into the damage zone face up, meaning that they can all be counterblasted, and you end the turn. Now, if you take 2 damage and you go from 5 to 6, and then you shuffle back, you are going to take the 7 damage like I mentioned earlier. But generally, you can play around it. Make sure you PG those Vanguards while you still have it, even if you're on Megaloma. You just want to make sure you don't screw it up, because once you get into your Megaloma loop, there's a very good chance that you should be able to win the game if you have set it up correctly, either for like a deck out victory or for a resource denial victory into like a free Katrina turn. And it's really easy to actually set up striding into this progenitor dragon in this deck. One thing that you have to know about these is that you have to discard a card with the same name as your Vanguard. Now, that means you're either going to be on a Stampede or on a Blue Asha, and you're going to have to discard one with the same name. That's why we have Enlargolf, or it's one of the many reasons why. Because now we can add back one of those Ashas or one of those Stampedes back to our hand. That's really, really, really important to set up early, so that way in case the turn goes bad, you got OT'd or hyper sacked by like a triple crit, or you drew bad, or whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is, setting this up early lets you go into like an emergency Megaloma, and then from that emergency Megaloma, you can probably live, and then you can maybe go for a Katrina, and the Katrina will deck thin another 5 cards, and then maybe you'll hit like heal, OT, and you can come back. It's really strong just for like eking out those really close victories, and then it's also extremely strong when you go into those really, really long calculated games against other grindy decks like Granblue, like Mega Colony, where you just need to keep trucking until you finally get that winner chicken dinner. It's the MVP of the deck. Double Megaloma is the future. I think everyone playing this deck should be on Double Megaloma and the Blue Asha. It is so insane. It helps your bad matchups immensely, and I really feel Like it's unbeatable once you have the blue Asha set up and running. Okay, now let's go on to some test hands. Alright, so let's start off with a test hand. I shuffle the deck a few times. Let's just draw our 5. Alright, so this is going to be a pretty simple mulligan. These cards suck ass. Now, having a grade 2 and a grade 1 is fine. You know, they're right targets. And so the correct play here is to just put these 3 back. And for the sake of being informative, that's what I'll do. But I would put a little 5 back if I was playing, because I'm a little greedy goblin. But these are fine to just ride. You know, no one really wants to brick. No one wants to G assist. That's how you lose games. This is how you win them. Just keep them. So we go, draw another 3. We have the Enlargo, we don't have the Stampini. That is annoying. We're not going to be able to G assist for a better ride, but at the very least, it's still a 13k body. So now we're just going to go, shuffle our deck again, make sure that those cards that we put on bottom maybe go somewhere else, but it's mandatory. Go. Opponent does their turn, whatever. We go, draw, we get a heal, we ride our Harley. Well, we actually got a Rosarium Fairy. Rosarium could make some plant tokens for us early, which is really good. But you can ride it here if you do want to keep the Harley. Let's say your opponent's like on a Victor, is on Victory, like you see a Nova Grappler starter. You probably do want to keep this Harley in hand, because that will be really, really nice for trying to guard their stride up turn. But let's just say that for now we're going to ride this Hanale. Their opponent's not playing Victor. We're going to draw our card. This is a blue Asha. It's a nice little proxy I have because I don't own a third one. And there's nothing else that we really want to call from our hand right now. So we're just going to go swing 6. If your opponent's playing Grand Blue and they wrote an AK, congratulations. Now, as long as you don't see a trigger, you don't have to give them Bart damage. So let's go and see. Awesome, we didn't. And we got a ride fixer. This is really nice because we do have a grade 2 ride target, but we can also look for a better one now. We're going to go, take a damage, and Largolf. That's not great to see. You really want to keep all your Largolfs and your Logas in your deck because you want to have full access to them on your Katrina turns. But it's not the end of the world because we already have one blue Asha in our hand, meaning that we only need to Largolf another time to get the second. Because having 2 blue Ashas is the most important part of the whole blue Asha double Megaloma thing. You want to get 2 blue Ashas before you're about to die. We already have one, and then Largolf is your way of guaranteeing that you have it in hand. So as long as we do have one in rotation, it's not the worst thing in the world. We already have one in our hand. We know we can't damage the second one. Stay calm. Now, we're going to go, stand, draw for turn. We got a Hanale. That's fine. We're going to go, use our right fixer before we ride. We have that M-Pix in our hand, so we don't necessarily need to look for a ride target like a Nelma. So right here, we can add the Sanctitude. Sanctitude's a great add here. It's a PG. If they're striding, it's free. We don't have a PG in our hand yet, but we do have a Heal Guard. And we're looking a little bit low on plant makers. We have this Rosarium Fairy, which could do the trick, but it's going to cost another rear. What we can do is we can add this Flower Carpet, and so we can put the Flower Carpet in our hand. The next turn, when we want to go and stride, we can call the Flower Carpet, and then we can go Rosarium Fairy, retire the Flower Carpet, make 2 more plant tokens. That's going to be 3, 4 with Katrina skill, and 4 is generally enough. And I think that's what I'm going to do because I want to make sure I do have enough plant tokens. We can always grab this Elementaria later using our Ladislava. Now let's just put this back into the deck, not in our drop. That would be very, very illegal. Alright. Now we're just going to go and ride this MPix from our hand. And MPix is an 8. And that's another number that still doesn't give our opponent damage if we really wanted to. But for now, what you could do is you could call the Flyer Carpet, get 1 plant token, call Rosarian Fairy, retire the Flyer Carpet, and you can make 2 more plant tokens, probably 1 column and then another column. Also, we have these because we went second. Now, we have a nice triple in. We can go swing 8. It doesn't hit. So, let's just see. We got an Elma. Great. That would have been nice. But it doesn't matter. Because that's also another plant token maker. And then we can go swing and swing these. It's not the end of the world if you swing into any of this. Except for the plants, we don't really care. Rosarian Fairies or whatever attacker anyway. And this is just if you want to push damage, you don't want to get them damaged at all, you don't even need to call them. Let's say we go take 2 damage, a Loga and a Honolly. Those really do suck ass. It's really, really annoying to see that Loga in there. You really wish that you could get all 3 into rotation before you start taking all this damage. But it's not the end of the world, you can still add 2 to your hand. If you had 1 in hand and then you damage 1, that's pretty much the worst possible scenario. Because then you can't even add that 1 back from your deck unless you call the Loga from your hand before you call it, which means you have to give up 1 plant token, and it just feels really bad, and you really don't want that to happen. Luckily for us, we still only have 2 in our deck and 1 in damage. We don't have 1 in our hand yet, so it's not the end of the world. We can go heal guard plus 10 after taking 2, and then maybe, you know, if we use our guardian shield, do we take another one? Who knows? Maybe we have to guard. Maybe we don't. I don't know what deck I'm playing against. I don't know if they got triggers. For now, let's just say we're fine. We go, we draw. We have 2 ride targets in our hand. We have a blue Asha, and we have the Enlargolv. I think the blue Asha is going to be way better here than the Enlargolv, considering that it has an actually useful skill. Now, what do we want to pitch for Stride? We can go for the Enlargolv, but if we do go for the Enlargolv, we have to remember that we need to put it back into deck with the blue Asha skill next turn. But that should be fine, considering that we want to be doing that anyways. You just need to remember to use that during the beginning of the ride phase skill. So we're gonna go discard it, Stride our Katrina, and Largolf draw a card. Go Katrina, flip up, make a plant token, and now we're at 4. We drew into a Maiden Flyer Carpet, and we also have an Annulmer in our hand. We have a lot of open CB, so we can just call over the Rosarian Fairy with our Anelma. Counterblast 1, the one we want to put in the drop the most, is this extra Loga in there. So we'll counterblast that one in case we do heal. And we will Soul Blast most likely this Honolly, because that is another card we would like to put in our drop. We're going to make a plant token, call it over herself, and then draw a card. That is an Bracing Angel Ladder. That is an amazing rip. We don't have to add that from our deck anymore, especially considering that it would be very hard to do because we don't have any live Enlargolvs in rotation. That is going to save us a lot of grief. And now we can even, realistically, depending on what type of deck your opponent is playing, we can Angel Bracing Ladder, put it into the deck, or into Soul, draw a card, and then we have 1 Honolly in hand, 1 in drop, and then 1 here. We can put this in and call a Honolly that protects it from any type of removal that your opponent may have for it, if they are playing a deck that loses pretty hard to do and they do want to remove it. It does kind of suck that we already have so many out in rotation, but again, it's not the end of the world. We can still call 2 Logas, add them to our hand, and we can call some Anelmas, gain some card advantage, and we can even call another Honolly from our deck. This is a pretty low roll hand, just because we damage so many of our pieces. We damage 3. Generally, if you're damaging like some plant token makers, or even like some of the lower impact pieces, say like an Almira, just because Almira is never, like, it is not super necessary, maybe you'd be fine. But these are like very, very high impact damage. It's stuff that, like, if you see, you really do get upset. And to have all three of them happen in a row, that it just is what it is. But it's really not the end of the world. We're probably just going to go do the Angel Bracing Ladder now, draw a card. We draw into an Elementaria. That's really nice. That actually helps us out a lot, considering that we wouldn't be able to get to 3 PGs in hand without that. Now we can go swing our 40k columns, because that Cyclone is going to be giving these planet tokens 5, each tree is giving them 10. They're going to be 20 each, so that's 40. Now we're going to swing Cat. Cat's going to flip up, or not, Cat's not going to flip up, but we're going to go search our deck now. We're probably going to get just 2 of these Lugas. And now we don't really have too many options. We did use the Angel Bracing Ladder, so we can call a Honolly. We do have some open CB up. We're going to be using one of the Lugas, so we can get another Enelma draw and make a plant token. And then for our last call, we probably just want to call, honestly, this Blue Asha. What calling this Blue Asha will let us is letting us do is setting up the Enlargolv play for next turn to add it back to hand. Because what's going to happen now is we're going to Counterblast 1, add these Logos to our hand. These plant tokens go away because they were called over. This Honolly is going to be called over the plant token. And Num is going to call over this plant token. And then we're going to Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. You can Soul Blast the ladder. We're going to draw a card. We drew Stampede, that's awesome. And then we're going to call over the Blue Asha with the plant token. Now we have Blue Asha drop for next turn with the Enlargolv. But there's even a better play here. And it's a little bit simple. All you need to do is just call this. Because this Blue Asha is going to be called anyway. The only time you don't want to actually do this is in the scenario that your opponent is playing like either Mega Colony, or they're playing like Naru and they can maybe like bind this. Mega Colony, in the case that like you don't want to do this as your first Katrina, you want to make sure that you have this Blue Asha in your hand, and what that means is that you would not want to use that Enlargolv in your hand here. You would have kept that Enlargolv in your hand and pitched something else for Stride, and then you would have called over this Blue Asha during this turn, and then next turn you would have called the Enlargolv from your hand and added it back. But this is fine. For now, then we're just going to go do our drive checks for the Katrina. Amira, Lena, power here, draw a card because this is already hitting, and then a crit. We can go power crit to this column just because it's larger and we want to see them take more damage, I guess. Now our hand is still looking pretty decent, even though we had some pretty bad damages. We have some decent Strath Air. We have 3 PGs. We have a decent amount of guard for a turn. We don't have any heals, unfortunately. It would have been nice to have one. We would have been able to, say, if we didn't have this Enlargolv in damage right now, we would have been able to add the heal back. It is what it is, but that would have been a play that you could do, assuming that you didn't damage the Enlargolv. We still have this quick shield for discards if we want as well. And at the end of the turn, you would make sure that you want to check for Flower Carpet if you have 2 plants and you have a Flower Carpet in drop, which we do. You would be able to retire them and add back. We don't have 2 plants, unfortunately. That is something you can do. Also remember that now we can either swing like this. That would cost us a CB. So you usually just want to swing with this larger column. So you actually do want to put all the trigger power in 1. I don't know why I put them in 2. I kind of forgot about the Honolly. But that is what you would most likely do this turn. Go de-stride and pass back to your opponent. Now, let's say we take 1 damage. So Anelma, fine. Now you want to go, use your 2 Volgas, go discard some shields, use this as well. Hopefully this Hanali is doing a lot. We can maybe die here. It is a possibility. And it is mostly due to us just not getting very good damages. Again, 3 pieces is just a lot. But if you eke it out, there is some light at the end of the tunnel. Because you can do a really whack play now. So you would stand your ears. Let's say this is where you're at right now. You draw for turn. And this is what your hand's like. And you're saying, what am I doing here? Now, at the beginning of your ride phase, you can go Blue Asha. Here, let's just change them like that. Go take 2 cards from your circles and your drop zone. So 1 from here, and then 1 from there. Let's just put back this, say this Anelma. And we can put back this Largolf. There we go, and we can draw a card. Draw, fantastic. We can call 1 too, but we don't really want to. Now what we can do, we can ride Stampede, Mandatory Force, and 2 plant tokens. And because we have another one in hand, we can ditch and Strider Megaloma. You can Megaloma, discard 2 cards. And there we go, now we're Megaloma. It's not a great turn, but it still lets us do a little bit of pressure. We just can swing our van, do our 3 drive checks, heal. This heal is going to go crazy, let me tell you. This heal is going to be absolutely wild, because what that heal unlocks for us might actually help us win the game. So a heal, a draw, and a Stampede. Now again, this hand is not surviving a stride turn, let me tell you that. Because we're at 3, and we're probably going to die. We can go and add a Flower Carpet, but we probably are not going to, because we actually want our deck to be thinner, and what's going to be happening is we're most likely going to be shuffling this whole hand back into our deck. Now, we take the first damage, it's an OT, let's forget about this OT. Our first damage is a carpet, our second damage is a heal, let's forget about this heal. Alright, it's a crit, you draw for the crit, it's not going to matter, it's a Blue Asha. And then sixth damage would be this. Now, that's what you can do. You can try and just take 6 damage, or if they put you to 5 before they swing their Vanguard, you have this heal. You can go G-Guard for your Rain Breath. And now you can Rain Breath. Plop down our Almira over a plant token, preferably. Counter +1. Put this top card into our damage zone. And now we've triggered the Megaloma on our own. Put it back in the deck. Shuffle. Put our hand in as well. Now I take a new 5. Now you can go, end their turn, and start ours, we draw. And this is where, say you were on Blue Asha, you could go, put this and 1 card from your drop back, draw another card, free stride into your Megaloma, discard those 2 and do it all over again. But we were on Peony, so we're pretty much forced to try and kill on a Katrina right now, which we may or may not be able to do. Since we were able to do that Almira denial play, they might not have enough resources, but they might actually have those resources, and that's where game variance comes in. But in general, it's a really strong strat, and if you do have this Blue Asha set up, you will be living. Unfortunately, we did just damage in Largolv, Lilga, Honolulu, and so this game was kind of dookie. But if you damaged like normal people cards, would have gone crazy. You would have had, you would have been a blue Asha right now. You would have had double Megaloma set up. You would have had 3 PGs in your hand, so you would have been able to do 2 turns of Katrina aggro after, or before you actually have to go into Megaloma. And life would have been good. But that's how the cookie crumbled. Alright guys, quiz time. Time to see if you learned anything from the video. First off, against Mega Colony, do you A, go second, or B, go first? The answer, A, go second. Congratulations guys, you have now graduated from Lowe's Katrina Academy. Now, for real, I made a small little guide about how to beat Mega Colony 100% of the time, because it is a hard matchup, and I think you might gain a lot of knowledge from this. Now, the first thing you have to do is you need the grade 2 game, and then win the grade 2 game, so you can first try Katrina before they get their Gridors off. Now, this Katrina, you get your logos. And now, you have the choice of either Ladislava or Inverno for your second stride, after you survive their first Gridora. And realistically, this is just the illusion of choice, because what's going to happen, you're just going to go and add more PGs. And you're going to go through their second Gridora. Then you're going to go into whichever one you just went into, and then you're going to go and add more PGs. And then you're going to go, and then you're going to go Inverno again, and then you're going to add more PGs. And then you're going to double Megaloma them on your blue Asha that you set up during your Katrina turn. What's that? 4 Gridoras face up in the G-Zone? Kill them. Alright, so now here's how to beat the other bad matchup for your deck. Granblue. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to strike Katrina, and this is what your first Katrina board should look like, something like this. You call 3 Lilgas. You have the Angel Ladder in the back row, and you do this so that way you get to keep the boosting plant. And then you have in Largo the Soul Blast one add back this Bracing Angel Ladder when it goes to drop. And then you should go live, because they're just gonna like big up die, and you just like PG 3 times and you live for sure. And like maybe you have a healing you can put him back. And then this should be what your second Katrina thing board should look like. So you're gonna use that Embracing Angel Ladder from last year. You're gonna use it now, and then you're gonna call 3 Honolus to your back row. Now they can't do stupid Bad Bounty 2,873 Skull Dragon attack combo, because you have 3 Honolus, and that's like a lot of Honolus. And they can't retire them. And now for these 2 front rows, you have a few options. If you put back 2 logos, with like Robertina or with Cycle Tree, then you can add them back, and that's more guard in case you know, they have like a really strong trigger pull, or you just want like more protection because they've been drawing really well and they have like really accelerated power. Or you can go in Largolf. You can go in Largolf, add back heals for more G guarding. Or you know, if you didn't get your Ashas yet somehow, you can call like 2 Ashas, and then next turn you can call over them with plant tokens, and then in Largolf, the Ashas to your hand to set up your important Megaloma turn. But yeah, these are kind of flexible. You just need to make sure you have the Honolus. And then after that, you're pretty much doing this exact same board, except you're gonna, this is going to be for every circle. Because you're gonna remove the Honolus, you're gonna make some plants, and then you're gonna have 5 plants. You're just gonna do this for every circle with the Honolus removed. And then after that, that's your 3rd Katrina. It will go to 3rd Katrina because it's like impossible to kill Granblue ever. They just live no matter what. It's really hard to kill them unless like you're turbo aggro and you see like Bless Favor or something. But after your 3rd Katrina, you go and you ask the Granblue player cards in the deck, and the Granblue player should say some like number like 5 or 6, and you know the drill. double megaloma, baby. Woo! And you fuck the Bartholomew. They try and kill you, and you say no, and they deck out, and you win. Yeah. So that's how you beat the two best decks in the format with American Katrina. I hope you guys learned a lot. I hope you enjoyed the deck list. I hope you enjoyed my explanation how to play deck. And all in all, I hope that you never have to watch my videos ever again. I know they're painful.